All right. Well, this is going to be a fun show. So, welcome everybody to Next Week's Life. I think it's like the 4,000 broadcast. I'm not sure, but I'm very happy to have Martin Golobic, the CEO of GreatAmerica, and of course, the infamous, famous, well known Jennie Fisher of GreatAmerica. So, this is a real honor for me to have both of you on the show at the same time. And I know our audience is going to look forward to some fun with you. I might say too, Jennie, you were the first interview for the podcast.
I was.
So welcome back, and
Yeah, thank you.
you've been a good luck charm for the show, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. So with that, Martin, you and I have come across paths here and there, and certainly appreciate your participation in many Jillian Fund events and the motorcycle ride that crossed the Cedar Rapids path in your office. So we've seen you here and there, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to talk a little bit about who is Martin and what do you do. So we'll start with that. So, and then we'll come back to Jennie. So GreatAmerica has been a huge supporter of the show, of the industry. Martin, how are you doing as the CEO of GreatAmerica? We'll start with a simple question.
Oh, simple but very deep, though, Mike. How am I doing? I will say better than expected. And what we don't really advertise at GreatAmerica. We don't probably publish these things. So since August, CEO. Prior to that, another year as co-CEO with Stan, who has been with the company for 25 years, who retired at the end. So I had a lot of help, Mike. That's the reality is, and so. When I say better than expected, I've had a lot of help. And, my dad, who started GreatAmerica, our founder, very much, him and I talk daily. Jennie heard me say this the other day. I have it really good, Mike. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. My relationship with my dad, I was really nervous that this could, always strain a relationship, and family comes first. But how supportive he has been of me is some maybe even unexpected. I mean, it's hard. You've met many founders, Mike, and sometimes it's really hard for them. And I know I'm sure he's been biting his lip several times around me. And him and I have an open and honest discussions, and in the end, he'll tell me what he thinks. And many times I'm right there with him, but he's helped a lot. So you got to be honest, as I talk through that answer, I'm feeling much better than expected.
Well, it's interesting. I'm sure you know this. I am an unabashed, huge fan of your father. He's been a great influence, I think, not just in the industry and certainly for GreatAmerica, but individually, he's been an inspiration to many people. I remember a long time ago having the opportunity to visit Cedar Rapids and have a chance to meet him firsthand, sit next to him at a dinner that I was invited to. And I will never forget the quality of that conversation. So he's a real mentor, probably doesn't even know half the time when he is, but he's a great dad and certainly a wonderful advocate for the industry. And, he spoke at the Executive Connection Summit, and I don't think anybody would debate the fact that that was probably the best speech ever given by anybody in the history of ECS. So I think he had a great leader, great father, great advocate for you and for GreatAmerica. So when you talk about your dad, I mean, your dad is an interesting character and legend. What was the biggest and most impressive footprint he leaves on you as you move GreatAmerica forward?
Oh, that's a great question. The biggest thing is there's times when I hear myself speak, and I'm sure Jennie accuses me that my dad is writing the script for me. But it has been imprinted on me, Mike. I mean, he cares unbelievably about doing the right thing. I mean, him and I both have the concept that we probably trust more than we should at first, and we give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And it's to a fault. There's no question. But the biggest thing I've gotten from him is really that is we will do the right thing. Even if that means that we might lose a little bit, but if we said something, you'll always hear him say, Martin, your word must be good. So if you say something, we will do it and we will stand by that. that. And that's always what he would say. I'm sure Jenny's heard him say that a million times. If we said that, then we will stick to that, and our word is good. I hope everyone thinks about us that way. They won't always have the same perspective, but it's certainly treating everyone the way you want to be treated. No question about that. And really our employees come first.
I don't think you have any worry about the fact that anybody might misconstrue that message. That is Great America. And it's clearly welcomed, I think, by an industry that sometimes can be a little cynical. And I'm not sure sometimes after having spent time with Tony, there's a little bit of old world in that. My father always said, your handshake is your bond. That's it. You live with it. So, yeah. And I think you'll find that footprint with everyone I've ever met at Great America. And with that, it's a great segue. Jennie, great opportunity to have a chance to visit with you again, and obviously with Martin. I think you were employee number 3.
Number 3, you remember, yes.
So number 3, and that's obviously some time ago when Great America was just in its beginning stages. So how does it feel to have the opportunity to work with Tony and now Martin?
I think it's tremendous, right? It's incredible. Tony has been a mentor to me from day one when I joined Great America. I worked with him before coming to Great America for a short time. And when I think about what I've learned from him, when you think about personally, professionally, right, how to manage my life, how to think about our customers as we go to market, which was a strong point from the very beginning. Tony's been extremely customer focused. And then how do we think about the industry and the customers that we serve and continue to grow, right? And bring the solutions and the service and the value to our customers that will allow us to grow. So that's been tremendous. And I feel like, now it's really exciting to work with Martin. I mean, I've worked closely with Martin over the years. I mean, how many years, Martin? In different periods of time, right? Now it's different, though. I'm so impressed with Martin and the team that he's building, right? That next generation of leadership for Great America. And I'm very honored to be a part of that. And just thinking through the time that I've had to spend with him and that leadership group and right, experiencing his thought process and the philosophies and the fact that we need to continue to grow and evolve. And we need to, there's a lot of that legacy that remains, right, that we built on Great America, but it's exciting to think about what's to come.
Well, I think it's fantastic to see you and Martin and knowing Tony basically taking this whole next generation philosophy forward. And by the way, before I forget, I congratulate Great America on making a brilliant decision to promote Jennie to the president of the Office Products Group, if I'm not mistaken. And so, Jennie, I can't think of anybody more richly deserving than you. You've been the face of Great America for a long time. And boy, Martin, when you talk about someone who commits, she is the epitome of that Great America philosophy. So good job, Jennie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm pretty excited about it.
So let's talk a little bit about wisdom. So one of the conversations I keep finding myself in pretty routinely lately is this: you can either say it's a conflict between artificial intelligence or technology and humans, right? Or, wisdom. And so I had this really interesting conversation with a couple of people not too long ago. And I think it's a great conversation for Great America because you demonstrate a lot of humanity in combination with some pretty innovative technology. Tanya Stone's done a great job. I know you're working with all these various people. So Jennie, especially, and Martin, but you have a huge responsibility to apply wisdom and mentoring and bringing that connection between technology and humanity. What plans do you have in this next generation as we go forward with you now, Martin, as CEO? What's your vision for that kind of winning combination?
So a few things. When I think of that, I have to go back to some of my, I would say, the people that have helped me. That's going to be kind of the story. Mike, I was telling Jennie before we started, as I was reflecting on just thinking through what I wanted to share, it almost gets emotional. It is amazing how many people want to help. And I don't know what it is about us. Jenny mentioned the same thing. It's just I feel like if you're open, self-aware, willing to have a little bit of humility, it's amazing how many people want to help. You don't always have to listen to them, but there's been a lot of people like Mike. You're one of them. Another one I think really highly of is Mike Reardon, who I know you know well.
Yeah.
I still don't know why Mike likes me. There's plenty of our customers. I'll say a name because I know he'll watch this and I'll get a call and it'll be great. But like, I talk to Chip Maselli all the time. Chip can be a tough guy, and I remember Chip called me the other day and he goes, "Martin, I don't know why I like you, but I do."
Yeah.
And then he always tells me what we need to do better, and I say I understand, I agree with you, Chip. We do need to get a bit better, but when I'm thinking of what we do for the next generation, it's in conjunction. I don't want to say a prior generation. I don't think of it that way. I think the better you can create mentoring relationships. So at Great America, some of the things we've been doing over the last few years, a great example is our former general counsel stepped aside for our new general counsel, and he's still on board. He's still doing it, and he views his role, Mike, in our company is to make Michelle, our current general counsel, how do I make her be the most successful she can be? It was never about, well, how does it look with me not having the title? He viewed his role, and his role at Great America was to see it continue. And the best way he could leave a lasting mark was to prepare the next person. And that's, to be honest with you, Mike, that's not easy for some people, right? Some people want to retire at that position because that's really important for them, the optics of it. And that not everyone will get over that, but I would say that's more of our spirit is our people view their role as preparing the next people to take over. And that's been a big part of it. And sometimes the plan is linear and sometimes it jumps from A to E to B and all over. That's been my story at Great America. Opportunities would show up, and I was fortunate that some people would be like, you know what, this is maybe the opportunity Martin should take on. So our story has really been that. And I'll hand it to Jenny in a second, but one of the things Jenny, one of her ideas in our office imaging group was one of our events we ran the last year was called Next Wave. And it was focused right on that same concept, Mike, where it may not even be a family business, but these are the people coming in to take over. So go ahead, Jenny, if you want to add to that.
No.
Well, I'll segue out of that because I do have a question for Jenny in that regard. And by the way, I would echo your feelings about Chip Maselli. He's been a great brother to me, a great advocate for the business. Every time I talk to him, one of the things he says routinely in his old grumpy way, I want to support anything that's good for the industry. And he's a real advocate for that. So I totally agree with you. I love him, and I take everything he says very seriously.
I think my phone's going to go off immediately after he hears this.
Probably. So to turn back to Jenny on the next generation. So Jenny, you've probably been closer to me at the Executive Connection Summit and the consortium. You've watched all of this stuff grow, and not only watched it, you've been a very active advocate and participant in helping to develop it, which is props, really kudos to Great America. And frankly, you yourself as an individual are the epitome of what Great America represents. And if you don't mind, I'd like to throw in a little commercial for her. When I ask her, hey, can you help us with the Executive Connection Summit? And frankly, Martin, we had nothing. We had no idea. We didn't even have an agenda. But her executive instincts and the trust that you talked about, sometimes you trust too much, but you strike a great balance. And in that case, Jenny, you've watched this whole thing evolve. You've watched us focus on next generation people. Are we on the right path? Or what advice would you have for us and frankly for the industry as it
We're,
pertains to Great
yeah,
America?
we're definitely on the right path. And I think we need to continue down this path of bringing awareness and a presence to that younger generation, right? I mean, they're the ones that are going to lead this industry moving forward. And not to mention, they have such fresh and new ideas that challenge, and I'll say old school people like us, Mike, but we talk about that a lot, right? I mean, we've been in this industry for a long time, and sometimes we get set in our ways. And so I think we really need to encourage that presence and the involvement of the younger generation, and then continue down the path of where is technology moving. It's moved faster in the past 4 years through the pandemic, when you think about the evolution, than it has in the past 10, right? Maybe 15. And so where is that going, and continuing to educate the industry on what that might look like, to keep them thinking about, right, our customers, what more can they do? How are they going to continue to evolve their organizations to flow with the industry?
So when you look at what, and I mean this sincerely, I mean you've been number one advocate for ECS and the consortium. When you look at those things, and you look at the young people now coming into Great America, and what we are trying to collectively do, what do you imagine is really the number one priority for you now at Great America to advocate that and bring stellar results to the effort? So in other words, what are you doing to campaign for these young people, and how are you dealing with it?
First of all, I'd like to say I'm very proud to have been a part of ECS from the very beginning, right? And even before the pandemic, when we were doing that. So I appreciate that. So what am I doing to lead the charge, or to help with the initiative on the next gen? Well, I'll start with Great America, right? So when you think about the role that I'm in, one thing that I get really excited about is, when you think about the next 3 to 5 years, is helping to elevate that next generation of leadership at Great America. Martin's doing a fantastic job of forming his team. And then you take that to the units, right, and the senior leadership team at the units. And I'm just really excited to, I've always been participative in identifying future talent for leadership and helping in that development. But we are really focusing in on what does that look like, and how can we fast track some of the younger generation to build the confidence, right? That Martin was speaking to, the self-awareness and the humble, and just really having the confidence to accept the self-awareness of yourself, and how to take that to the community, okay? Internally and externally. So that excites me, number one. Now, how do you take that outside of the organization? I will tell you that as much as I'm involved in the industry, and the opportunities that I have to not spread the word about Great America and the love, it's going to be about what are the other organizations, our industry partners, and our dealers doing to promote the younger generation. We see some of that happening with the succession planning in some organizations, but we still have a lot of owners out there, right, that are thinking about retirement in the next, let's say, 2 to 10 years, that don't have a plan. Who are they developing?
So you lead to an interesting point, and I'm curious about you both as individuals, and obviously how it impacts Great America and the industry going forward. But so one of the things that I see more and more routinely right now is the need for inspiring this industry to become far more and greater than it is today, right? We can all talk about print forever. That's not really the
We
issue.
need to
The
evolve.
real
We need to
issue is,
evolve.
yeah. So what are you going to do about it, and what lessons are learned, and how can we apply them? So what is Great America, doing to consider investing in adjacent markets, or somehow bringing other things together that make Great America more than a rate card, which you've done very well so far. So Martin, are you looking at investments in other areas?
Yeah, so a lot to unbox there, Mike. You mentioned it right. We've been saying the clicks are going away forever. Granted, I would say the best continue to get better. And there is a lot of consolidation. So you're right. It is happening, but this I don't know, this doom that is coming still hasn't happened. But to your point, there needs to be an evolution. That's what Jennie was talking about. Where I'll just speak to the spirit of those in the channel is they are sales organizations, Mike. I mean, they are well-tuned sales organizations. They will find the next thing. Part of Great America's role, as you just were asking the question, is our role is to help them move down that path. And so we know in this space there seems to be a collision with the IT services that continues to come in. We know many of them have bold goals to be equal of their office imaging to their IT groups, and that's not always happening. So a few things that we're looking to do, Mike, is we're looking at a lot of things involved with, I've asked the questions of, I use the term disintermediation. And it's going to make me sound really smart. I've just said the word about 100 times, so I'm getting really good at pronouncing it. Is what happens when someone doesn't need to talk to somebody to get what they need. And our customers play the role of, is you don't necessarily know what you need. I'm the expert. I can help you solve the solution. And so we've been asking ourselves, what might that look like? What happens if distributors take over and no longer do I need that? So we are asking those questions. One of the new roles, Mike, that as part of Jennie talk about building the team, I actually brought someone in the outside that has a ton of, he comes from actually a CPA firm that has, 30 other products they sell to their customers. And I've asked him to come into our world to say, hey, look at what we have. How else should we be serving our customers? Because it may not be financing of something, Mike. It might be services. And so the thing I've asked him to learn is hey, spend time with our customers in multiple industries. And Mike, as you know, office imaging is by far our largest. We have an automotive, we have a healthcare, we have an IT financing group, we have light construction. There's many more to be named that we play in. Some of them have convergence and some don't. But I asked, his name's Leighton. I asked Leighton to say, Leighton, go find all of the services that our customers need to provide their product or service their organization. Is there something we can do to help them? Is there insights that we have that we can provide them? We have so much data at GreatAmerica about habits. And today, we use some of that data today right now to really go in down the collections path as delinquency kind of is increasing. We're seeing some, I wouldn't say uncertain economic times, but there's some unusual activities happening that we can't quite put our finger on. And we're really trying to say, hey, what is at play here? So we're starting to use that, what do we say, 5 years ago, that big data to start giving us insights. So I would say, Mike, a lot of exploratory actions we are taking, investments that we're making at GreatAmerica to start helping us figure out what is that next concept, the next thing that our customers need to know. And then frankly, there's other insights we might have, which is, I know there's a lot of people that serve these roles, but should GreatAmerica think about some like financial modeling services for our customers? We see so many customers. We know what good looks like. And I know there's others that help them, and I know they're very busy. And so there are other ways that we can help fine tune the organizations to continue to serve, our vision of helping our customers achieve greater success. And therefore, obviously, we hope to be more successful because of that.
Boy, you just triggered a whole lot of questions in my mind. But before I ask a couple, Jennie, did you want to add anything to what Martin said? I imagine you might have a thought on that.
I would say that everything Martin said is spot on, right? But when I think about the value, a very strong value that GreatAmerica brings to the marketplace, and that's the experience that we deliver, and that is led by our sales professionals, okay? And so we really focus on becoming that trusted advisor to our customers and using a needs-based selling. And so while we're placing an additional strong focus outside the unit, please know within the respective units, the reps are constantly, right, consulting with our dealers, our resellers, understanding the challenges and opportunities that they face and bringing intelligence back to the unit to determine what we can do next. And so there are a lot of small innovations that we bring to the market that we may not advertise that our dealers are finding value in, whether it's an economic structure, right, or a value-added service that we can provide or possibly training. And so I would just say we will continue down that path very strongly as well and utilize our sales reps as a strong resource there.
So in both those areas that you just touched upon, one of the things that strikes me is as you look at the next generation and you're reformatting your organization, you're putting new people into, or existing people into new positions. When you do those things, some of us may not know Brian very well. So I assume that you're going to be continuing to represent this new look and feel of GreatAmerica, while obviously not losing the culture you've established. And so if I could take that a little bit further, when you talk about data, GreatAmerica is known for its ability basically to access data, apply data, make good buying decisions or selling decisions, whether it be at the low end of a copier printer or something far more meaningful. When you look at some of these data centers, it strikes me that you would be in a position as the older generation of executives in our industry lose sight of the collective data and not be able to apply that very well. So if the formula is based on copier printers and not IT services or some kind of P&L line item, do you see that as a real possibility, or are you actually going to take steps and offer that kind of data and analysis to your clients? Help them make these better investments.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Martin, I'll speak to that first. Yes, that is an intent. And we actually have a couple of examples where we have utilized the data within GreatAmerica. And then in one example where the reseller has allowed us to utilize their data along with what's in GreatAmerica's system, right, to analyze and evaluate opportunities. And I'll just be real specific for a minute, but really proactively identifying upgrade opportunities that would then feed back to the admin at the dealership. So high level example there, but we're barely just getting our feet wet, right? We're trying to understand, Martin, how many data specialists do we have now? We're very serious about this. We're focused internally and thinking about how we can become more efficient in utilizing that data, developing the dashboards that keep us informed and educated, right? And then we're continuing to expand that. And the desire is that we could possibly have a dedicated focus for the external customer at some point.
Jennie, the interesting thing too there that I'm having a little bit of an epiphany on this and how we can continue expanding and for our learnings is, Mike, I'm in the process of hiring a chief human resources officer for GreatAmerica. We, our people strategy needs to continue to evolve. As we just talked about, we have an incoming generation, we have another generation in the business. It feels like there's lots of generations right now in the workforce. That may have always existed. It just feels like we're at this interesting point in time. And there's so much insights around people that data can actually help us with, not just customer end user habits, but there might be habits that we can learn and then take that to give us insights. I'll give you a great example. I asked an individual that worked at a convenience store chain, and they were having an issue with the night shift individuals. They thought that they weren't staying. Their tenure was really low. And so the operations team said, we need help. We don't know why this is true. And it turns out that if an employee had less than 1 year tenure with this convenience store and you put them on a night shift, it was guaranteed they would quit within like a month, just guaranteed. And so the takings from that is they started using a team environment for the night shift. They took scheduling away from the managers at the stores to create fixed schedules, and that's no longer an issue. But I look at stuff like that, and how much data do we even have on our own people, our employees, that can make them happier, make them more productive, all of those things. GreatAmerica is going to make the investments on that. And I bet you there's a way that we can take those findings and help our customers even more. Kind of had a little epiphany as we're talking, so I'm going to make a note about that.
I just wanted to add, Mike, what I get excited about and really especially just became so clear at ECS this year is the amount of interest in data analysis, right? How to utilize the data, bringing artificial intelligence into it. The follow-up I've had from ECS, I've shared information from ECS with a number of dealers that have a strong interest here. And I feel like, that's one of those opportunities where if GreatAmerica could become really good at that, we could take that expertise to the market and help our customers figure out what to do there. Not to compete with any of our resources in the industry that do that, but just an added resource.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's why I'm glad to hear you say that, both of you. But when I mentioned a little while ago about the older generation basically leaving that part of the business, there's a gap, there's a void. There is no, and that's not to be disrespectful to anybody who's doing anything today or has been doing it. What it means is, like everything, there's a shelf life, and that next generation has to be picked up. And again, looking at, well, how does IT services deal with that? What's the impact of AI on operating that dealership? What does that P&L look like, and what should the KPI be going forward? very, very difficult things to answer without the predicate, right? You have to have the data.
You have to have the data.
So I'm glad to hear you both saying that, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity to improve the industry, and you're in a great position to be able to do it. So I encourage you. So everyone that's listening out there, I encourage them. Okay. So
By the way, Mike, what I've learned on this, because I'm learning what some of these roles means, like data architect. Not only do you have to have the data, you have to have the data stored in a way that you actually can find it, use it, categorize it. That's a job, and obviously it's a job, but it's a huge undertaking to then organize your data in a way to make it useful. So
yeah,
that
totally
was
agree.
I had the other day about something.
Yeah. And unfortunately, our data in the industry is like all over the place. It's siloed here, it's siloed there. So I'm in total agreement with you. And one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit on the business side, and then I'd like to segue a little bit more on the personal side, and how it affects your life and your job. But I recently had a call, and Hiro-san knows this. He shared the call with me, a number of calls. But yesterday I had a call with an individual who is ex Special Forces and cybersecurity, and the gentleman is just incredibly embedded in this whole cybersecurity area. Obviously, from the military, and now more on the personal side. And the one thing that he said, besides the fact that he anticipates a pretty significant, hostile environment for security over the next year or two, and coming from his background, I take that very seriously. But the one thing he said is that he believes that there has to be a shift on the security side from corporate to led by personal, because the technology lines are now blurred. So they could, Martin, you are, Jennie is, I am, we are not, we have our own digital footprint. And so what he anticipates is a lot of this nonsense and horror that can be inflicted on our cybersecurity grids is going to come more from the personal side, meaning they're going to be looking at individuals inside corporations to find that access point to do damage. And I'm wondering, A, do you agree with that philosophy? Are you surprised by it? And number two, what do you do inside your own organization to protect your risks? Tough question.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, Mike. So my information security team would tell me, Martin, the biggest issue we actually have is not that we don't have the right tool or policies in place. It's that the lowest common denominator will always be the person doing something that they don't understand creates a vulnerability. We all know the easy one of clicking a link or impersonating somebody, whatever it is. So we are highly focused on that. For us, I can just speak, and it may not really answer your question. We do a ton of internal testing on this. I mean, our information security officer, he's getting quite good. He actually sent me a one that was like, hey, someone sent me wine. And I'm like, let's look. And I clicked on it and he's like, got you. And I'm like, okay, I'll need to be better about that in the future. I know you like some wine too, Mike. So
one of Martin's passions, Mike, can you tell?
Ouch.
So be careful on those ones if you don't know what's coming. And by the way, the secret to that one is just copy and paste the tracking code and go into Google and do that. Don't click the button is the secret, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that way you can see if it's real. So if you're unsure, that's maybe one of the learnings today. But no, it's a serious thing, and I think he's right. There's a huge issue there, and you also I just worry about the bad actors, right? That could be in your environment today that you don't know about.
Exactly.
So a huge thing, and we're spending tons of money and time on securing all the data. Because to your point, we talk about all this data that we have. I mean, GreatAmerica has so much personal financial information, whether it's someone's social security number, our customers' financial data. We have lots of stuff. And if you look at our name, our company name might make us a target for some maybe foreign powers that may want to do something. So taking it very, very seriously, lots of investments being made.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. Probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So final business question, and then we're going to move to part two. So I'll start with Jennie. So Jennie, what is your best advice and counsel for the dealers that you're taking care of today and growing your business and all of that? What is the best advice you would want to share with the dealers that you work with on a daily basis to grow their business?
I would say the best advice that is top of mind for me right now is there's more of them that need to work on the business versus in the business. Uh, we, when I think about the industry that we serve, and I think about Great America and the customer focus that we have, and all of our resellers have that same customer focus, right? They're bringing an experience to the market, to their customers, to bring the value, and they're selling machines to get a profitable price that they take back to their organization. Well, that creates a very reactive environment, if you will, right? Because you're always reacting to the customer's needs. I would give the advice that to make sure that they are staffing appropriately so that they can focus on the strategy and the growth of the organization and developing that next generation of leaders. And it's going to take getting out of the day to day. And there's a lot of these guys that are still in the day to day. There's a lot of these owners, right, that have been doing this for 30, 40 years that are still out there selling day to day, which is
Yeah.
tremendous. But
And I'll bite my tongue. I'll bite my tongue because this is your show, but I totally agree with you. So, Martin, how about you? What's the best counsel you would give to your client base?
Yeah, I'm probably going to think through, Mike. I'm probably going to just wind it towards the next generation, or especially if it's family owned. There is a lot of peer groups I'm a part of, a few that are call it next generation, multi-generational family businesses, and providing the individuals the tools, or at least just a support group to know you're not in it alone. And sometimes it's a gripe session about the parents, and many times, like for me, it just shows me how lucky, how good I have it. But I think a lot of focus on there, and it doesn't need to be that it's a specific plan for the next generation, but there has to be a plan. There has to be, here are the steps, here are the tools. And then the big thing, Mike, that I had a personal learning on, my dad is by far, I've been coached not to say much smarter than me, but he's really smart. And he's a lot more detail oriented than me. I mean, you have to be to create a company from nothing to over 3 billion in assets now. Just has to be. So, but the biggest thing that I would say that others need to realize and to learn from with these groups is don't try to be that person that came before you. That's probably the biggest thing I've had. And starting to, there's the other thing, Mike, I also work with an executive coach. I think that's really important. That person, I made a comment to me the other day, is like, Martin, I can't believe how much you have developed and grown over this last year. And we've had a lot of tough things that I've had to be involved in. And I said, I don't feel like I've changed. And she's like, I feel like you just have more confidence in what your thoughts were originally. And now you're more confident sharing those things instead of I might sound dumb. Jennie doesn't care about me. Jennie's smarter than me. All of these things. So I don't know if I really
I'm
answered
pretty
your
sure he's
question.
never said that.
Well, I think that's a very human response, and I love it. I have respect for both your opinions on that. I love the fact that an executive coach would say, maybe they are the same ideas, but you're more forceful and you're more clear, and certainly you own, what you're doing.